right, if you'll excuse me, I've got 9 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to have the proposed tax rate. We published a public notice that Nelson County Fiscal Court will hold a public hearing today on Tuesday, September 6, 2022 at 9 a.m. in the old courthouse, second floor meeting room for the purpose of obtaining comments from the public regarding the proposed tax rate. The tax rate last year was 13.9 cents per hundred and produced revenues in the amount of $4,797,015. This year's compensating rate is 13.2 per hundred and will produce revenues in the amount of $5,010,340. The Nelson County Fiscal Court proposed a tax rate of 13.7 cents, which will produce a total of $5,200,125 in revenues. Revenues expected from new property is $602,552. Revenue from personal property is $1,659,104. Revenue expected from motor vehicle is $762,847. And revenue from watercraft is $24,756. Revenue received in excess of last year's revenue will be used for general fund operations, including personnel, administrative, and other expenditures noted in the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. The General Assembly requires that the Nelson County Fiscal Court publish this notice with the above information contained herein. All right, then first I want to start the meeting. When we last met in court, I made a mistake when I spoke in regard to the error that was made in the property taxes. I was told it was a software issue, and I mistakenly figured that it was a problem with the state software. That was not the case. The previous PBA purchased new software to transfer deeds into the tax roll. It was a county internal, not a state software. When first using this software, there was a glitch within the system. It should have been transferring deeds in the current year instead of the next year. This has been found and been corrected. There are no future plans to be expected, but I want to apologize because I misspoke. It was my fault. I just misunderstood the situation. In my previous life at Salt River, all of the software was done by the other side, so I didn't make a mistake. It's an honest mistake, but I do want to clarify, I made the mistake in saying it was the state's error. It was a software issue on some stuff that we had.
So you had almost 20 minutes to prepare for that meeting.
No, that was the second meeting. I'd been judged for 15 days. Yeah, so I do want to apologize. I misspoke, and if you make a mistake, my mother taught me you're supposed to make it right. Is there anybody that wants to speak on this public hearing?
I'd like to say something, Judge.
Yes, ma'am.
And as far as the judge's statement went, I did not make a correction because we are in fact a state office. So I thought maybe that's where he was leading. And you know, it was a software issue that did in fact cause a mathematical error. Deeds are to be transferred whenever someone purchases a piece of property. That new purchase price goes on for the following year. That software was transferring it for the current year. Thank God I have the knowledge and experience. I caught that right away, was able to get that fixed before tax bills went out. That, would have been, it's correctable. Everything is correctable, but it would have been a headache for our office. So I'm glad I did correct that. Catching that error, I was able to lower a lot of assessments for people this year. I'm always glad to err on the side of the taxpayer, and that's what I did. I changed those, got those out. That did mean that the tax rate did go up a little bit. There's a very fine balancing act there. If I lower assessments, the rates have to go up because the county and the cities, they have to meet their budgeted obligations. So I was glad I caught that, got that fixed, and we can move forward.
Thanks. I just didn't know enough about what I was doing evidently to ask the right questions, so I'm just going to admit that I was wrong and apologize. Would anybody else like to speak? When I was on the school board, everybody wanted to speak on taxes. Me and Adam Wheatley never been in a situation where we got to lower taxes. All right, can I declare the tax hearing canceled?
Yep,
All right.
closed.
Closed, all right.
Yep.
The tax hearing is closed. We will go straight on to now, we'll call the official fiscal court a meeting to order. The first thing to consider is the minutes. Everybody had them out to them? Anybody have any concerns?
Just one on the sheriff payroll. to hire that new deputy. Shouldn't that have been in a motion? On page, third page, under old and new business. We authorized the hiring of a new deputy.
Yeah, for the fiscal court to take action, yeah, there need to be a motion.
Yeah, I need a motion on that instead of just a statement.
What are we saying, need a motion?
We need a motion to,
We did make one, didn't we?
Yeah.
it's not in the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that there was a motion made by the fiscal court.
Okay.
I'll look at that.
She'll check on that.
If-
There was, I'm
If
pretty-
it's in there, I'll clarify.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's
That's
not in the
right,
minutes.
that's right.
Yeah.
So,
Good catch.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that addition, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Gary? Jeff seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next, we have the bills and transfers. You all have them. Rhonda's here if you have questions.
Throw it on Rhonda.
And Judge, if I may interrupt, my notes indicate that Jeff made the motion and Eric seconded it on Raymond to hire a new guy. So that's.
I just need to add them to the
They will look
minutes.
at that.
Okay, thank you.
My apologies.
No problem.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second,
I'll second.
Eric,
And transfer?
and transfers. Got a motion to approve the bills and transfers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Next order of business would be the first reading of the tax rate ordinance. Am I supposed to read this ordinance? Y'all had listened to me talk a whole lot today. Sorry. Ordinance relating to the setting of property tax rates to fund the 2022-2023 budget of the County of Nelson. Whereas the county adopted a budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year on June 7, 2022, and whereas property tax rates to fund the said budget could not be adopted prior to the county's receipt of the state local finance officer certification of the maximum permissible revenue from ad valorem taxes in accordance with KRS 68.245, which was received August 11, 2022, and whereas the said certification establishes compensating and maximum tax rates for the county, now therefore be it resolved by the fiscal court of the County of Nelson, Kentucky, Section 1. This is levied for the year 2022, the ad valorem tax rate per $100 assessed valuation of all taxes profitable within the county for general fund is indicated. Real estate tax will be 13.7 with an estimated revenue of $5,181,759. Tangible personal property will be 13.90, $326,564. Motor vehicles, 16.1, $762,847. Franchise county RE, 13.7, $18,366. Franchise county per, 1390, $104,211. Distilled spirits, 13.9, which is $1,228,329. Watercraft, 16.10, $24,756. Bank deposit is .025 on deposits, and this amount will vary. And aircraft, 13.90, which will result in $3,060,000. Therefore, the total estimated tax revenue will be $7,649,892. Section 2, the said revenue shall be expended in accordance with the provisions of the budget adopted by the fiscal court of the County of Nelson of June 7th, 2022. Section 3, this ordinance shall be published in the Kentucky Standard newspaper by title and summary within 30 days of adoption. Section 4, this ordinance becomes effective immediately on passage and publication. Does anybody have any concerns or questions?
Just a correction on aircraft, you said 3 million.
I'm sorry, 3,060.
Yeah. I wrote him a little note here, I was gonna tell you.
I make a motion that we approve the tax rate.
Thank you, Jeff. Bernard seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Thank you. Something else for me to sign. All right, we were asked to do a proclamation for Overdose Awareness Day, and it's because we had 3 weeks in between our last meeting and this meeting, I went ahead and signed it, so I just need to let y'all know that we did do a proclamation for Overdose Awareness Day. Whereas Nelson County Fiscal Court does affirm and acknowledge the harm and hardship caused by drug overdose. Whereas we recognize the purpose of International Overdose Awareness Day as remembering loved ones lost to overdose and ending the stigma of drug-related deaths. And whereas we resolve to play our part in reducing the toll of overdose in our community, which claimed the lives of more than 24 Nelson County, Kentucky residents in 2021, together with countless more affected forever. And whereas we affirm that the people affected by overdose are our sons and daughters and our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, and is deserving of our love and compassion and support. Therefore, I, Nicky Rapier, Nelson County Judge Executive, do proclaim August the 31st, 2022 as Overdose Awareness Day. So just want to let y'all know we had to do that. Was nice to have that third week in between. I mean, I've been judged like a month and 6 days, and this is our third meeting already, so it's kind of nice to have a little break. Next, we have the county clerk budget amendment. And the main reason we had to do this is there was a new KRS that said we had to put document storage fees in there, and so she had to add a line. Other than that, everything is similar or better than it was previously. They're behind me if you've got any questions, but basically it's because the KRS changed the laws and they had to add a new line.
Need a motion to approve?
Yes, sir, I do.
So moved.
Jeff makes a motion to approve. Gary seconds. All in favor of the county clerk budget amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. All right, road department report.
Okay, so we had 2 bridge openings. Did I give you guys summaries of those?
Send on.
I got some, digital.
Yeah.
You want a hard copy?
Yes, please.
All right, so I'm gonna hand out Hilton Lane first, was our first bridge that we figured out. It's structurally due to be replaced in Gary's district. The low apparent bid, thank you, is Hornback Construction for $129,850. I would need, but they've done projects for us before. They're a very good contractor. I would need you guys to approve their bid and we'll move forward. That's a good project that we need to get on top of.
I'll make the motion to award the Hornback Construction.
Here's, make the motion. Keith will second it. Any discussion? All in favor of awarding Hornback Construction the bid on the Hilton Lane Bridge, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved.
So you guys know in the budget, Jeff's always asking that, we did get a grant for that particular bridge. We went through the grant program, so it's 80-20. 80 means you get $80,000. We gotta make up the rest. So it was somewhat budgeted accordingly, Jeff. So Caney Fork Bridge is the second one that we bid out same day. The parent low bidder on this one was Galusha Contracting for $120,839. $128.39. Now this one's a little more complicated. The reason being is we only had budgeted $80,000 for this particular bridge. When Dean and I originally had looked at this bridge was back in March or April, and we actually got a quote from this gentleman that Hornbacks actually, they were busy and couldn't get to this particular project. And that's generally what they thought was going to come in at, was around $80,000. Well, it came in at $128.39, which is a lot more than we anticipated. So what I would ask the court today, it's a good project. It's not structurally deficient, it just needs a bigger opening to allow more water to go through that area.
Mr. Pruitt used to live in that
Yeah,
area.
he's right beside it, so he's very,
Know it well.
very familiar with the issues there. We're internally trying to figure out how to fund this, and there's some stuff we're working on the state that hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days we'll find out, and we can maneuver some money around to try to pay for the excess that we've gone over. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do, I just want to report to you. We'll table it if that's okay. Once you guys decide something different here in a second, and give me 30 to 60 days to try to work with the state on some issues and see if we can rob Peter to pay Paul.
Is that, on the bidding process, is there a length of time?
60 days.
60 days.
He's got to hold his price for 60 days from the date we opened it.
And I just want to kind of add to this just a little bit. This is a really important project, and I'm hoping that even if something, worst case scenario, we do not get those state funds, that somehow we can transfer that budgeted money till next year till we can maybe glean some money from some other funds, correct, that we?
Well, you can't spend money you haven't budgeted yet, I always know that.
Right.
We can rebid it, we can look at it again as a group if this doesn't work out. Make the new judge earn his money.
So you need a motion on this?
I don't think
I think we
so.
can just table it.
I think we
Okay.
just, I just
Don't
wanna
take
really
any
wanted,
action.
yeah, really wanted to report to the court where we were at with that particular project. I've talked to some of the residents, the concerned ones out there in that area,
Mhm.
so they know what's going on. I didn't want them reading it in the paper.
Right, right.
So,
I appreciate that.
They've been informed. It's a little tougher project. That's the only way in and out, so we gotta build a bypass. So I gotta be smart on when we build this. So, cause you get a rain like you got last night, it will wash the bypass out. So we'll see. I'll come back to you guys when hopefully maybe some stuff works out with the state on it.
Thank you.
Back up 1 minute on the Hilton Lane. Have you already got a permit for that?
Yes. Typically, Gary, I won't bid them out until I get the permits.
Good.
Because that way I'm not holding up a contractor and then we roll into an issue of he won't hold his price. So I always get them ahead of time.
Good.
So real quick on my report to the court then of kind of regular operations, we did some asphalt patching on Patton Road, 80 miles, 4 sections there, Keith. That all hold that road for a while. And Whiteside, Jeff was out near 48 where we had some issues. We are currently working on Harrison Fork. If Mother Nature allows us, I think this week, at the end of the week, we'll have it back open. We finally got all the permits, so we got a permit on a Friday and we started on Monday doing the crossing. So we'll see how that works out this week. Eric, we widened finally the road out on Love Ridge up near the cemetery we've been working on.
Great.
For now, we just put rock until it kind of like settles in.
Mhm.
And then once it does, we'll go back and put asphalt. It's a good project, guys. We always got complaints on how narrow that road was there. For drainage, and we went into Maywood, Gary fixing basins, Millwood Way, we did a little project. Robert Taylor, Keith, we replaced the culvert there, as well as on Stringtown, Burner on Petersburg Road. That drainage issues down in there. And then on 1664 Wheeler Road, we did some work. Continue to spray. You guys probably have noticed we're doing a lot more spraying this year. I'm really trying to get behind that and get out ahead of this trees that keep coming back, you know. Moved a dead tree on Hilton, Drake Ridge and Highview, and then Jeff, we went out on Heritage Drive, which is kind of unique in a subdivision. There's like 2 or 3 lots that have never been sold and continues to grow out, so every couple of years, that's handwork there. You don't take the boom mower out on that. And then shoulder repairs on Junior Govan and Leonard Hall. That's our list.
I meant to ask you, that slight distance on Potter Shop, did the state ever take care of that, are you aware?
Site distance on Potter Shop. Tell me what you're talking about.
Yeah, I heard about that too. They were supposed to go down there and hand cut that. Mark Russell said something about it.
Okay. The gentleman that called said they couldn't see to get out of their driveway, sprayed someone to go hit them when the light pulled out, and slight distance, you can't see.
And it was on Potter Shop?
Mhm.
That'd be us. I'll get with Lee. Is it where Potter Shop comes out onto the state road? You're talking about?
No. I'll get the address.
Get the address for me. That whole road's us.
I'll get the address.
Lee very well may know and Chris may know. That's just something he just didn't inform me of.
Okay.
What about the here?
All right, yep. I tried to skip over that, didn't I?
Yeah, let's skip over.
No, this is a good project.
Yeah.
All right, let me find it. So we've been approached by Kentucky Transportation Cabinet about doing a particular project on a state road, Highway 52, where it meets D-Head. If you guys are familiar with the area, it's got a real bad curve. I think I forwarded you out the drawing. I'll give this to the news media. So what they're proposing, because the state is so busy with the projects they have, is they would reimburse us up to $1 million to get this project done. But we have to do it. We would have it designed, we would bid it out, we would oversee the construction, and it's a project we do. We get reimbursed from the state up to $1 million to get the project done. Keith, if you remember, this was the same process we did on what they called a Bull Run. It's Nat Rogers Road.
We did a couple on 733 for Bernard, same process. yeah.
We're being told by KY DOT that if this isn't done this way, this project won't get done. That's how busy they are. So they're asking us to manage it. It's a good project. I'd like to get behind this one. I would need you guys, the reason I just want to bring it up today is let's have some open discussions about that to make sure you're comfortable with it. They've given us a resolution to sign. I'm not asking you to sign it today. I'm asking you to discuss it and see if there's something you'd want to get behind.
Something that has sped up this project, it's been talked about probably 10 years, but they've got a new landowner and he is willing to donate the grant. The previous owners were not as willing. And that is something that's really sped up the project. It really needs.
We get 3 years to complete the project, is what the memorandum of understanding. Matthew, I think I sent you that stuff. I know you're terribly busy, but, you know, if the court decides to move forward, that's something we'll probably dig in more and read more closely, the details of it. And maybe at the next court meeting, we sign the resolution if that's okay.
I think it's a good project. I know exactly what you're talking about. The only thing I would ask is, what happens if it comes in over budget when you bid all those things out?
Then we're gonna have to have, y'all gonna have to have another conversation.
I mean,
It
that's
won't be in the next 4 months probably, but y'all gonna have to figure out if you're going, we're not committing anything when we bid it out.
Yeah, we can just like to bid it out and get an idea.
Get an idea of what it's gonna cost.
So,
Gotcha.
let me be clear on that. So you guys know, we have to hire a consultant for this. It's part of the contract. That's not something John and I
State.
draw up.
Yeah.
So we'll have some skin in the game to get this done, to get a consultant on board. If there's utilities in the way, I don't think there is. Initial review of everything, water lines out of the way, electric's out of the way. So I think we're good on that, but we will, you know, we got to get it to project you can bid. So, and then we bid it, like Nicky said, we come back to you and discuss it. Now, the state has given me their estimate, and that's something I'm not going to overly make public, because sometimes when you make estimates public, the bids tend to come in what the estimate was.
I understand.
We should have sufficient funds. They really over budgeted for this particular project. But again, till I bid it, I don't know.
You're comfortable with the estimate from the state?
Correct. Yes.
What do you need, a motion?
I don't think we need anything today.
I wanted to bring it up to you guys. I really would like 2 more weeks for Matthew and I to go through that memorandum of understanding, just to make sure there's not something in there. You know, when we talk about going up $1 million, that's something Brad can back up. So I want to make sure I just want to make sure the court was comfortable moving forward before we really dug into this.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you hire this consultant and then the bids come in over budget, over the million or whatever it is, will we be out the money for the consultant?
That's a good question. That's what I got to ask.
Yeah, the agreement is the only thing, looking at it initially, that always concerns me, and it's just lawyer speak, but they always put in there, if the General Assembly doesn't appropriate the funding, then fiscal court's on the hook. Now, you know, you'd think they're kind of awash with money up there right now, and it shouldn't be a problem, but it's just always something to keep in the back of your mind.
Absolutely.
I saw that, Matthew, and I thought we can terminate the project at that time if that's the case. That's the reason we need to go through it a little.
Yeah, right,
I
exactly.
did see that, and that always was a little concerning to me as well.
If you all were totally against this, which I didn't think you would be, then I didn't want Brad and Matthew to spend a lot more time on it. So we're not really asking for anything today. We just, it seems like a good project. It seems like it's worth Brad and Matt's opinion, but I didn't want to make that decision without the 5 of you guys deciding that, to be honest with you. So you're all right with us proceeding, and hopefully that we'll try to put it on the agenda in 2 weeks.
Can't pass up $1 million.
I'd just like to clarify who pays for the consultant if that comes back.
I will. We'll ask those
If
questions.
it's $200,000, the court will have to pay the $200,000.
Then you're almost committed to doing the road no matter what. You're kind of between a rock and a hard spot.
Exactly.
You lose all your leverage.
Right.
If the design's $200,000, I may get into that myself.
So you're a little bit overboard there, Mr. Coker.
Just to clarify it.
All right.
We over on that a little bit.
Anything else?
Sorry, passed.
Anything else over the road, on the road department?
No, nothing else. This is a really good project.
Yeah, it is.
I think we ought to get behind it.
Absolutely.
Mr. Jailer?
Thank you, Brad.
It is sworn we have 111 inmates 39 in the state, 72 are county, 60 are waiting for circuit court cases, 12 for district court cases, 94 are males, and 17 are females.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Pruitt?
I have three departments to report on this morning. First one I would give you on 911 dispatch. I need to let the court know that for the last 6 weeks or so, we've been back and forth with the CMRS board. Work with Jason Childers there. We were informed that apparently we've been overpaid on our cell phone funds for this year. So they're recouping what they've overpaid and informed us that our cell phone revenue would be down to the tune of about $80,000 in our budget, in this year's budget. In our investigations, what we're finding is Verizon bought out Bluegrass Cellular, and Verizon on the last quarter, which was April, May, and June, reported that they had about 2,600, a little less than 2,600 subscribers in Nelson County. Bluegrass Cellular, first quarter, had reported 12,600 subscribers. So that's affecting our bottom line. Accountability, there doesn't seem to be recourse from CMRS board. It's kind of a handshake that the cell phone providers report their actual subscribers for each county. So they're kind of at a wit's end of how they can approach it. We may at some point have to request Matthew to get involved a little bit, see what we can do. But the cell phone funding makes up about 30% of our revenue each year. So
Why is it that much difference, Joe?
because, in my opinion, Verizon's not reporting their accurate number of subscribers, unless they've lost 10,000 subscribers when they bought Bluegrass Cellular. That's the only explanation there. We've asked to
You
check
didn't
with.
think they lost that, did you? I mean, just. out
Well,
loud.
it may not be that they're reporting them in the right counties. So, I mean, there's some variables that we hope that the CMRS board can work through to at least give us some idea of this is right, this is wrong, we're gonna have to tighten our belt, what are we gonna do to get through the rest of this budget, and then appropriate accordingly for the next budget. But
Well, I mean, in theory, if they lost that many, then somebody else would have had to pick them up. And we'd be collecting, I mean, that's saying that there's 10,000 less cell phones.
one would think,
Which is not, we know that's not correct.
one would.
So it could, if they went to somebody else, then somebody else's numbers should go way up.
One thing we did ask 2 weeks ago, back and forth through emails, is that CMRS do an audit on our surrounding counties to see if they had
If they had a fluctuation also.
an increase or decrease. I'm thinking, we carry part of LaRue County and part of Marion County. Cell phone card comes to us because we provide them service. That in itself could be an issue. They may have not held to those boundaries, and those monies might be now going to those counties instead of coming to us. But that's not that would make 10,000, but that could be a little bit. But it's a work in progress. Just want to bring the court up to date that we are looking at a reduction in our revenue for this year due to that fact.
Well, there is a spectrum that came in to the cell phone somewhat, right? I know a few people that switched when Verizon bought out Bluegrass, and they went to Spectrum because they give you 2 lines for $30 a month per phone or something.
And AT&T picked up some. It's a lot, but we're still 10,000 subscribers off somehow.
That's a whole lot. Nobody gave
So
up
there's no
10,000 cell phones.
government agency that keeps count of how many cell phones?
They keep count, but they don't have the ability to go to Verizon and audit their system to say you have this many subscribers in this area.
Really?
It's up to that. That's what I've been told by Mr. Childers, that they have the responsibility to turn in their numbers, but there's no auditing ability to
That's
ensure that.
not good business.
Yeah, second item under dispatch, as you know, we had an internet outage this over the past weekend, Friday on. I want to just thank Gary Holt for coming in on the weekend and helping us out, and especially thank my neighbors in Metro Emergency Services. They provided us with a Wi-Fi cellular box that we were able to tie into dispatch to get them back online so they can function properly through the weekend. I'll be taking that down this afternoon and delivering it back to the folks at Metro, but they really stepped up for us Saturday morning, got us some equipment to make it work.
So you and I discussed briefly, and you're completely out of my category, but it would almost seem with the way the world is right now that you should always have a redundant service. We should never have all our eggs in one basket. I mean, you should either have, if I can't, AT&T and the city or some Spectrum or somebody. Evidently, there's a whole bunch of them more, but we need to look at that and because
Just have a backup.
you got to have a backup. I mean, it's just I just know it.
Our next board meeting is September 14th, so that'll be one of the topics on our agenda.
Well, this box they brought down, what it do? Did they put something on the roof?
No, actually, AT&T built this box for large municipalities. And what it has is a cradle point, a piece of equipment called a cradle point. That cradle point uses cellular technology to go from internet through the cell and back. So when we first put it in, it has individual antennas on the box, but the makeup of the building out there was not allowing enough signal to come through to make it work. We only had like 2 meg. For those that know about Jeff, know about that. But fortunately, we also use similar equipment on the ambulances with an external mounted antenna. And I so happen to have an antenna in our possession. Was able to get that. We went upstairs where we could get a better range and ran the cables down and got it all hooked up. The bad part is we only had 12 feet of cable, so we were really.
Is it something like a hotspot, like my grandkids when they get?
Well, it's a small version of that. Just think of it as a large version of a small hotspot. It uses multiple cell cards so it can bounce around back and forth. If one's weak, it'll jump to the other. But it worked very well for us. We can't afford that kind of equipment, but it's good to have neighbors that have it.
We, at one of the magistrate meetings we went to, there's a company that's a subsidiary of AT&T that has these services and for disaster recovery. I don't know if it's a subscription type deal. I didn't get into it, but I'll try to find some information for you.
Well, Friday afternoon, I called my folks at Kentucky Emergency Management, and AT&T has a piece of equipment called a CAL. It's called Cell on Wheels. That's the name of it, CAL for short. The closest one is in Nashville. And for big events like, Thunder over Louisville, things of that nature, they'll bring those in to increase the capacity. But after talking with the representative out in Nashville, we had good cell service, so it wasn't that wasn't an appropriate piece of equipment that we would need, but we could have got it if we needed it.
They talk like this is just kind of a totally redundant from any of their commercial AT&T stuff, and it was just for municipalities. But I'll find some more information on it.
Yeah,
Please.
good.
We gotta have backup. It can happen anytime, anybody.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know better than anybody, so yeah.
What did they use, Joe, down there in the flooding and the tornado? Is it something similar to what you're talking about?
That's where the CAL, the cell on wheels, they placed those around because cell towers were actually down.
Right.
So this were on a smaller area basis, they would place those to put that internet cell service back in place. And again, our board meeting is on September 14th, 10 a.m. at Nelson County Sheriff's Training Room if anyone's interested. Under EMS, just want to make the court public aware that During the COVID times, our public, we do a lot of public education, and we're unable to do that. We have scheduled an EMT class starting in October at our location. We'll be taking applications soon. This is a hybrid class. It's not for the weak of heart. We'll have entrance exams and things of that nature, but we have to retain a pass-fail rate of 85% on anyone that takes the class. So we're pretty particular on the folks that do apply, that they have the ability to see it through and the ability to meet the requirements. So the Nelson County residents will have the first choice on that, and then we'll open it up to our surrounding counties if we don't fill it from there. Emergency management. Weather siren, I think I told you, is in for Fairfield. We're holding off on that installation until the new substation is completed. And we'll have to call on our judge to get us a poll from our neighbors and help us with the installation of that. Salt River's always done that for us. We applied for and received a special project 50/50 grant for replacement siren Balltown. That's an older siren. We were notified about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that we did receive that grant. That project's about $18,500. So state will pay a little over $9,000. Met with fire chiefs last week at the regular chiefs meeting and asked them, since we're talking about weather sirens, we're in October, we go around and start doing all the preventive maintenance on the 16 sirens that we have. But it comes to mind that we probably got some underserved areas with weather sirens. So I've asked the fire chiefs and asked you folks to think about densely populated areas that we might want to think about a siren in, and not so much for residential, but areas where there's a lot of outside activity that we may not be covering very well. So we need to think about that going forward, where we can place some. We have about 3 sirens now that we feel like we can retrofit and get some more use out of them. So it'd be no cost to us other than installation and a few parts. We could maybe add a couple of locations. John Hendricks, Joyce Spalding, and myself are attending the Kentucky Emergency Service Conference the rest of this week. We have to keep up our in-service hours for being in emergency management. So we'll be down there Thursday, Friday. That's it.
Anybody have any questions, Joe?
Thank you. Thank you.
A reminder for garbage pickup's gonna be a day behind this week, so basically today's pickup's gonna be tomorrow, Friday's pickup's gonna be Saturday. Still having issues with getting parts for our equipment. For a high lift undercarriage, we're still waiting on one rock guard, so hopefully get that in the next day or so and get that piece of equipment back up and running. Our dozer, we're waiting on one fuel line, which is overseas somewhere, so hopefully get that back sometime. Been waiting on that for a while, but like anything else, just having problems with equipment. But other than that, just normal operations.
I see where you had to rent a backhoe?
Yes. We rented a backhoe for about 3 weeks. Our backhoe was down, and we gotta have equipment. So we rented one for team. So radiator issues, cylinder on the back, one of their riggers, so it was down.
They couldn't get the radiator for a while.
Back to parts, still waiting on parts, especially with the older equipment. If I hear the parts in Europe one more time, it's frustrating.
Any questions? Recreation report?
So Derek couldn't make it today, but I'll tell you what we got going on. We finally got electric, Boyd Cat, which is Caterpillar, Gabe Stone, you guys know. Their office donated a mini for a week. And then, so you put the electric to where we can have the front gate. He got that done this past week. We helped them with that. And then they also donated to use a skid steer. We talked about making field 4, which was a Little League field, into a dual purpose softball / Little League field. We got that done. He had ordered some special clay and,
You took the grass out too.
Took the grass out. We actually crowned the field. The road department went out there to make sure if we was gonna put this on it, I want water to get away from it. We'll see how good I am when I go out there this afternoon and look. And so we finished that project for him Friday. But again, those guys, I just want to give a shout out to them. They helped us out.
What was the
They did
ditch all out in front? What, is that the electric?
That was the electric. We had to do underground electric to
Did
get.
he encase that in that pipe?
Yeah.
That big roll of pipe?
Yeah, had to go with that big of a roll of pipe, Keith, it's pretty good pull. And you know, when you get electric underground, you have a lot of amperage drop, so you gotta put bigger wire in. That's why it was 2.5 inches.
That seemed like.
Yeah. And that's it really for out there for now, that you guys need to know about.
Sheriff, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. We attended last week the tax barrel task force meeting. It was pretty much informative. They have not made a decision. I believe they should be going to vote in January. Chad McCoy is the sponsor of this bill. Just to inform the court is looking to lose a little bit over $1.1 million. And the tax, I'm looking to lose somewhere between 230 to 235 or more on our fees. That's not extra from what we collect on the tax, that's just our fees. And again, I'll be attending every single meeting that they have, and I'm a big proponent of no on this bill that they're trying to pass. They still have not said where this money is going to be replaced if it does pass. So just be prepared that the taxpayers are going to be the ones paying for those barrel tax money that will not be coming into Nelson County. Just in Nelson County, we have given the bourbon industry over $1.1 billion in tax breaks. So I don't know why Chad wants to propose this bill and fight over a couple $1 million a year when they're getting all this kind of money from our local government. Two, in 3 counties alone, there's $2.5 billion in tax breaks. Nelson County, Marion, and Bullitt. So, and that's just some of the bigger distilleries that are in our county that are accounted for, not others. But in the next couple of years, there's over 40 more rick houses coming into our county. So I would suggest that if you're very interested in this, come up to Frankfurt, go to that task force meeting. I'll put it on the sheriff's page. I'll let you guys know when it is. I appreciate Dean Watts for showing up. County Judge Executive Jerry Summers did an excellent presentation, and Jim Henderson with CAECO, informing true numbers that were not even presented to the task force committee on what is out there to be lost in the communities that support the bourbon industry. Especially like we do. We claim ourselves as the bourbon capital of the world. Let's do right what's right. I'm a big fight against this because we will lose at least 2 deputies. I've been fighting for 3 years for my guys, and I will continue to fight for those that I would lose if this passes.
Hey Raymond, so those figures don't really even include the schools, what you just talked about.
Correct. That's $4 million to the county schools and $2.5 million to the city schools.
And, you know, I talked to Jimmy a little bit about this, and he kind of gave me the notion that they were going to try to bridge that where it didn't affect the revenue that we're receiving now. Have they talked anything about that? Explain how they're going to try to bridge that?
No explanation if this bill passes where the money's going to come from.
Right.
The state will not be able to give you the $8 million that we're collecting on an industry that is booming. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry that is booming, or else they wouldn't be coming here.
Right.
All the threats that they'll go somewhere else, they are, because we will run out of space to support an industry that we can't hold no longer.
And did Jerry talk about how much it actually cost? Did he speak about? I've talked to him about a little bit about it too. What it costs per bottle? Did he ever talk about that?
It's a couple dollars if they decide that they're going to try to regain their monies. It's $435 on a barrel. so it's very minimal.
One time he said something like a dime.
Cents, like a
Yeah,
dime.
it's not, it's not much, but they're fighting on how much the barrel loses.
With Angel Share.
Once they put it in the barrel and evaporation on that barrel and the content, now they're bringing up the cost of the barrel. My biggest thing is what you put in that barrel. That's what's gonna be making you money. The barrel's an aftermarket type deal that could be sold. You know, they went from $100 a barrel to $250 now. So the money's there. It just, you know, what's fair is fair.
And well, I was just saying that, correct me if I'm wrong, but the tax revenue we receive off that barrel tax is different than we're getting off property tax. So you couldn't even if you were to eliminate the IRBs and charge a property tax rate, you're still only gonna glean 4%, right? So that's a revenue loss at the end of the day.
Big revenue loss, as the sheriff said. Thanks for going, Sheriff. I know Dean Watts is still gonna involve, and I'll go to some of the meetings too. I couldn't go this time, but Judge Watts has asked if he could stay involved, and I thank you for going too.
And I really appreciate Dean for going up there. I know he's on his own time, his own gas. He's driving his POV.
It's the first time he got to drive again since he left.
That's the first time.
I think it was like a little kid getting out of the house.
He was up for release. He was a little bit overwhelmed being able to get out, but I really appreciate him going up there. The superintendent for the city schools was up there, and several others. Being on the board of directors for the Sheriff's Association, we rallied up and had a bunch of sheriffs up there. So we will continue, because it affects not only us at the bourbon capital of the world and what people come here for, the bourbon
Experience.
but the bourbon experience, but as well our citizens, because they're going to be affected by repaying that bourbon tax. That's what I'm gathering. That's just my personal opinion. Nobody has said that money, but if the money goes away, somebody else is going to have to pay for it.
Or we had to cut services.
Or we're going to have to cut services, and I would lose again 2 guys on my budget, not counting what you guys would lose on the fiscal court side.
Sheriff, I appreciate you going and speaking up for us. I think you need to let the fiscal court know when the next meeting is, along with Bullitt County and Marion, you said, so we can get the fiscal courts up there also show support.
This was kind of a weird deal. They had to reschedule because they had the 3-day special session.
Right.
So the next time, we'll make sure we give all y'all plenty of notice. Like I said, it got rescheduled real quick because the governor called a special session on Tuesday, and they met Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then they tried to get back again. So I'll double check, and if you get it, please send it to me or send it to them. We'll make sure y'all have plenty of time ahead of time.
I have one more question for Matthew on these IRBs that we passed, or the past fiscal court has passed. Is there anything that we can go back on those IRBs and cancel those? And
I believe
what
that
we
you can
passed
cancel
before?
that.
I'm sorry?
I believe that you can cancel
You can
that.
cancel?
How would you do that?
That was a topic of conversation with many county judge executives and sheriffs up there, that if this passes, they're gonna cut their distilleries on their IRBs.
That's a good,
Have to be in the future, wouldn't it?
well, we need to look into that, because if they want to play that kind of
I don't
game, we
know
can
how
play a
you
game.
undo it. I mean, it is a
It's
complicated.
a contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's contract, and you've got, I mean, the property.
Might not do it in the future.
And-
I mean, you have to deed everything back over.
They have extended where we do a 30-year IRBs up to 40 years now. So they want their cake and eat it too.
No.
And to us, I would say to us, including fiscal court, it's a slap in the face for all that we do for tax breaks, and then they're fighting this.
I agree.
Because they got lobbyists up there doing their work for them, and yet they won, I believe it's a little bit over $8 million that Nelson County receives on distilled spirit tax. So, if you guys are interested up there, if you Google it, that Bourbon Barrel Task Force, there's a lot of data on the website. There is numbers, what I've looked at, seem pretty accurate.
I don't get why Chad's so far, being right here, a resident of Nelson County, Perkins County.
You want his phone number?
Let's
We got his phone number.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. Ms. Clerk, do you have anything? Ms. PVA, you have anything else?
No,
All right, under old business, the Veterans Park would like to put up a sign. You got this approved, right?
Yes, our committee, upon your approval, our committee would like to use the three-post sign, the top sign that you see there. There's two post signs and a three-post sign. We recommend that we erect the top three-post sign.
Need a motion for that?
But as you see, this is just a future site sign.
Yes, yes. It's a temporary sign. We will put a different signage up there once the park is up and complete.
Right.
Make a motion to approve the three-post sign.
Second.
Motion by Eric, seconded by Gary. Any discussion?
You just need to get the proper permits and go through the procedure.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been told that.
We'll have the 40 big people there check the
811.
utility lines and
Yes.
so forth, and also the sign people that are erecting the sign, they'll also check on the permit and stuff, but we probably require them on that. I think we're good on it, but we'll make sure all that's completed as it should be.
Okay.
And one other thing, Judge, at least we can sign it after the meeting here, I just sign it on note here.
Yes, sir.
And that'll be completed.
Yes.
And then we have a liability policy also that we have purchased and we've named it.
The county
Government
identifies us.
Policy. So
Thank you, Jerry.
I'll give you a copy of that.
That'd be great.
We have it because of the glitch in the computer services last week. I'll have it until today.
That'd be fine.
Sorry.
All in favor of approving this, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved. I have no more old business or new business. Do any of y'all have any old or new business? Mr. Counselor? I forgot to call on you. Is there anything you would like to say?
I'm all good, thank you.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn by Bernard, second by Keith.
Yes.
All in
I
favor,
don't normally
say,
like to adjourn, but
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Jeff, I got you.
Thanks everybody for coming.